I felt like for Gothtober we needed to see this spooky boy. He doesn't like being held, so we'll see how long this lasts. Okay, alright, buddy. You want to sit in my lap? Nope, he did not. Hello to all you ghouls, ghosts, and mummies too. This is the Book Stamp. I'm Kate, and today we are going to get very spooky, very fall, and talk about my Gothtober TBR. So I am so excited to be doing Gothtober. I've never done a readathon before. This will be my first one. And it sounds so fun. Like, I love me fall. It's my favorite season. Halloween is so fun. I love putting together Halloween costumes, so you'll probably see some get-ups throughout the month. I literally have like 3 costume boxes. It's a problem. It's more from dance than it is from Halloween, but I have a lot. So let's get started going through my TBR. So if you are not familiar with Gothtober, it's a readathon hosted by Little Wolf, Olivia's Catastrophe, and Ladette. And so you can go to any of their channels and find sort of the Gothtober announcement that goes through all of the books, but we'll be going through them here as well. But check out their channels. They're going to have so much fun Gothtober content. They have some suggestion videos if you're struggling to find some books that fit the prompts, which I was. Let's go ahead and get started. So one of the things I loved the most about this challenge was that for the beginning, we had 3 main staple reads. So these are all own voices reads. So we have an LGBTQ book, a disability rep book, and they called it a BAME author, which I think stands for Black, Asian, or other minority ethnicities. I think a lot of them are British. So in the United States, we normally see more BIPOC, which stands for Black, Indigenous, People of Color. So they overlap, but we want to read books from authors of color. So starting with those 3, for LGBTQ Plus, I have been meaning to read Rebecca forever. It's been on my TBR. The Netflix movie is coming out. It feels like a fall book because it's kind of like a mystery thriller. Like, I'm not a huge mystery thriller person, and there's like a couple on this list. So like, you know, I'm feeling it too in the vibes. So I'm going to be reading Rebecca by Daphne de Maurier. I don't speak French. I barely speak English. I speak Southern. But basically, it's a thriller, so I don't really want to know that much about it. From what I understand, it's got gay vibes. I don't know if it actually has an explicit LGBTQ character, but I've seen it on so many like LGBTQ lists for older books, which I want to read more of. Which for disability rep, sort of my lens I'm going to be reading is characters with severe mental health issues. I am going to be reading Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I've been a Maureen Johnson fan, but I've actually never read any of her books, and it is free with Prime Reading right now, so I went ahead and downloaded it onto my Kindle app, and I will be reading that. For the BAME read, I'm going to be reading Homegoing by Ya Jessie. And I just read Transcendent Kingdom and loved it so much that I wanted to read this book immediately. So I was so excited that there was a prompt where it fit in. I don't know what this book is about. Awesome. This book is a multi-generational family tale about, it starts in Ghana, but it kind of implies that we come to America. Then we get to come to Harlem. It's going to be multi-generational. I have been on such a multi-generational family story kick. Like, I'm so excited. I'm literally so excited. This might be the first one I read. So after we have those sort of 3 basics of our readathon, staples as they call them, then we have our more like thematic reads. So these are really more for the Gothtober vibes, spooky vibes, but I tried to incorporate as much spookiness into my other 3 as well. So the first one is a book that has bones on the cover, and I immediately thought of Frankenstein, which has this skull on the cover. This is the Barnes & Noble Classics edition. Got it for school way back when. It actually still has like all of my notes from school. So I already have this on my TBR to read this fall. It fits perfectly with the prompt. It's a good like spook, like this is literally Mary Shelley wrote this trying to come up with the scariest story possible. And you know, It's scary, but it's also full of existential dread, which keeps me up at night. So really excited to reread this for Gothtober. The next prompt is a book following a female protagonist, and for this I picked Before We Were Free by Julia Alvarez. I picked this for two reasons. It's been on my TBR for a long time, and it is fairly short, so it will help me get through all of these 13 books this month. And since the beginning of October is still Hispanic Heritage Month, I did want to read a few more books featuring Hispanic or Latinx authors. And this book follows our main character, Anita, who is a 12-year-old girl in the Dominican Republic in 1960. And it sort of follows her trials after the bulk of her family immigrates to the United States, and she still has to deal with a lot of the continuing revolts and mysteries that are going on in her life in the Dominican Republic. The next prompt is a modern retelling of a Gothic story or a modern Gothic book. So I decided to pick The Dark Descent of Elizabeth L. Frankenstein as my book pick for this prompt. Since I'm already reading Frankenstein, I thought it would be fun to sort of read the two of them back to back and sort of see what themes are similar and things like that. And Frankenstein is one of my favorite stories, so I'm very excited to read this retelling. The next prompt is a dark academia book, and while I do really love the aesthetic and vibe of dark academia, I've not really been big into dark academic books, but I also haven't really read any. So I'm very excited to sort of give this a try. This will definitely be the book I think the furthest out of my comfort zone. So I'm picking If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, which is a kind of mystery thriller novel, which I do like to go into most books kind of blind, especially mystery thrillers. So it's about some sort of murder mystery, I think it involving theater, things I'm into. The next prompt is Oldest Purchase book, and I have a lot of books on my shelves that are classics that I bought a long time ago, because when I was graduating from high school, I was I'm an adult now. I'm not going to read YA fantasy anymore. I'm going to read classics. That was short-lived. One of the books that I have from sort of that realm of purchases that I haven't gotten rid of because it was not by an old white man I did not care about is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, which is kind of a quintessential fall classic. I've seen it on so many fall TBRs, and I think most people know what this is about. So I'm very excited to read this in October. The next prompt is a book set in a foreign country. And for this, I'm going to read Isabel Allende's The House of the Spirits, which is one of her most well-known works. It is actually her debut novel, which I think is really awesome that her debut novel is considered one of her best. I just finished The Long Petal of the Sea in September. You can see me talk about it more in my September reads. And so I am very excited to read this. It is another multi-generational family tale, I believe set in Chile. So I'm very excited to read this, and I know it has some kind of magical realism, spooky elements to it, so I thought it was just the perfect book for Gothtober. The next prompt is sort of intended to be a book that has liars, lying, lies in the title. I couldn't really think of anything for that was sort of something I already wanted to read, but I did think of Cat on a Hot Tin Roof by Tennessee Williams, which is, again, shorter, a nice play. I thought it would complement nicely, and pretty much all of the characters in this play have a big secret, whether it's being gay or having cancer or not loving your spouse. So I'm really excited to read this book, and this book also is a Southern literature book, and especially for older Southern books, Southern Lit and Southern Gothic Lit are pretty much used almost interchangeably. So a lot of older Southern works, like think To Kill a Mockingbird, have really strong Gothic elements. So I'm trying to read some Southern books that I think have those elements in them as well, and have just been things I've wanted to read for a long time. The next prompt is Red. So I decided to go with Fangs by Sarah Anderson. It has this absolutely gorgeous red cloth cover embossed with all of this black. It is spooky. It is fall. We have our vampire lady here on the front. The back, it says, I want your love is marked out, and it says blood. We've got our black spray edge pages, and this is comic. So again, this will be a book that is a little bit quicker to get through, but still hits the prompt and is still something If you go back and watch my fall TBR, it was on there anyways. So something I wanted to read. Very excited to get into this. The book that I'm going to be reading for the Grey Morality prompt is Absalom Absalom by William Faulkner. I don't know if that's how you say that, but I have a Southern accent, so I feel like it's right. And this book really goes into Southern identity with a lot of really complicated characters with complicated morality. So it's considered a Southern classic, and so I believe it has quite a few Gothic elements in it, and I'm very excited to read this, even though it has been described as one of the harder books to read, but this will be my real challenge piece, I think, for this reading, for this readathon. Our last book prompt is a book featuring an undead character, and for this I'm going to read Beloved by Toni Morrison. It has an undead character in it who sort of haunts other people throughout the story, and so I'm very excited to read this very classic book. I've never read any Toni Morrison before. I know that's a huge gap in my reading history, so I'm really looking forward to reading some of her work. And our last prompt is to watch a TV show or movie featuring a vampire, and I don't really I have never watched Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm not a huge Twilight fan. I actually think I'm going to watch the Psych episode where Sean and Gus are convinced that the person stealing blood from the blood bank is a vampire, because it's such a fun episode and you meet Lassie's wife, and I'm just really excited to rewatch that. I think it'll be really fun. Alright, well, thank y'all for hanging out with me as I went through my Gothtober TBR. Please drop a comment down below if you are joining in with the readathon. I'd love to sort of keep track of our progress together, but thanks for watching, y'all. See you later. Somebody else got jealous she wasn't on the video.